For first, regarding our today's FDI screening webinar, I would like to say the outline of the program, which means that the first introductory word will be presented by the Deputy Minister, Madam Martina Tauberová. Then I will give the floor to Mr. Petr Lang, who is the expert on FDI screening in our ministry, and the last part of the presentation will be me. My name is Ota Šimak, and I'm the director of the Trade Policy Department here on the Ministry of Industry and Trade. So that's about it. After that, there will be the discussion. If you want to pose any questions, please use the Slido application as it has been noted in the invitation, and we will try to respond most of them which we can handle in the time we have, or we can respond after that by via email. So now let me now give the floor to Madam Martina Tauberová, the Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Martina Tauberová. I'm the Deputy Minister here at the Ministry of Industry and Trade, responsible for the EU affairs and for international trade. And I'm very pleased that you have, in such a high number, expressed readiness to participate, to learn more about our national FDI screening mechanism. So I thank you all for your participation, and I very briefly will tell you a few introductory remarks about the mechanism we have, and then you'll, as Director Šimak mentioned, you'll hear much more in the detail. First of all, I would like to stress that the national Czech FDI screening mechanism we are going to launch on the 1st of May this year, which means in less than 2 weeks' time, is a mechanism which should in no way undermine and somehow cast a shadow on the Czech Republic's openness to foreign direct investment. The fact is, on the contrary, the Czech Republic is an export and open-oriented country, very much depending on international trade and cooperation with foreign trade partners. And we have always been a welcoming country to foreign direct investment. If you look at also the comparison of the Czech Republic carried out by the OECD, then Czech Republic comes at the 5th most open and welcoming country for the FDIs, meaning that we are the 5th least restrictive country in as investment environment to and the approach to foreign investors is concerned. The other point I would like to raise is that due to our continued interest for foreign direct investment, we would like to be and react to the current global situation, where we know that we have been confronted by specific threats on the international scene coming from some malign investors focusing not primarily on profit, trying to fulfill and reach some other goals in due to the foreign investment in a third country, which does not necessarily have to do something with profit and with regular trading, as we all know. So I think that the trends have been there for quite some time. That was, by the way, also the reason why it was already 2 years ago, 2019, when the EU adopted a directive 452, where it basically instructed the member states to launch, to establish information sharing, and also to create point of contacts nation in each and individual member state by October 2020. And that was basically an encouragement of all member states to establish national FDI screening mechanisms. For the last 2 years, we therefore were in quite an intensive process working out such a national FDI screening mechanism. And there we are now, after almost 2 years. We have finally succeeded in getting this whole draft legislation process within the Czech Parliament through, and we are now about to launch the FDI mechanism, as I said, on the 1st of May. You will learn that the overall objective is to have a national tool, to have an instrument at our disposal that will offer a protection from malign investors, those who do pursue different economic goals, and those who may pose a security threat to our economy, to our to our enterprises, and also those who can really disrupt our public order. So we will look at the FDIs from the security point of view, and will specify concrete requirements on foreign investors. The majority of foreign investors, as we all expect, and also when we compare information from those member states and also other third countries, partners, which already have launched their national screening mechanisms, all those are saying that these foreign direct investments which are under scrutiny, these are in minority, an absolute minority. It's a very limited number of those cases scrutinized every year, and I believe that it will also be the case here in the Czech Republic. We will do our best not to put any additional burden on non-risk investors. Your companies coming to the Czech Republic, we will specifically focus on those investors which who will focus and aim at investing into our crucial strategic and specifically defined areas we have identified in the law. We would like to pay a close attention to those investors going to invest in our strategic technologies, in those going to invest in our strategic production capacities, and also those going to invest into our strategic infrastructure. these companies will undergo specific procedure and will have to ask in advance for gaining a green light and approval. But my colleagues will tell you in more detail the whole procedure. The majority of all foreign investors, those we expect will be non-risk, and these will not. We will try to do our best to proceed with their either if you contact us during the consultation process, we will explain to you how and in what cases, then we'll proceed as swiftly as possible. With this mechanism, as I mentioned, we are going to react to EU's initiative, the Directive 425. And that means that we have in October last year already joined other EU member states in the coordination process. So we have now our point of contact here at the Ministry of Industry and Trade. And we have started already exchanging information and gaining from this coordination mechanism we have EU-wide. So I think that I will stop here because I don't want to prolong the introduction any longer, because what is really crucial from our side that you hear what are the concrete measures, what are the concrete procedures for you representatives of foreign investors and embassies, all the information you need to hear. Thank you very much for your attention, and I now give the floor back to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Minister, for your introductory remarks on FDI screening mechanism. And now let me give the floor to Mr. Petr Lang, who will present you the EU framework of the FDI screening mechanism.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you are able to see my presentation. I'm sorry for any technical troubles that we are briefly experiencing, but the part of my presentation will deal with the European context and the global context of FDI screening, because we are not living in a vacuum. And as Deputy Minister Tauberová mentioned, we were kind of influenced by the ongoing discussions in the European level and also on the NATO level when it comes to establishing of our national screening mechanism. I will break no news to you when I will say that the screening mechanisms are quite common. In the European Union, more than half of the member states have one or are thinking about establishing or strengthening their existing regimes. Based on our experience, our consultation with our foreign partners, we expect that the number of blocked transactions will be very low, very small. I will give you two examples. One is from the United States, the country with the longest established screening mechanism. Per year, they are screening about 300 transactions, and on average, they block only one. But that does not mean that they are dealing only with one risky investment, but many investors and just leave the process when they realize that the screening authorities are willing or will be undergoing more deeper and more present screening of their investment. So one of the most valuable features of any investment screening is its function that it actually preempts the risky investors from making any investments, because there is a very efficient tool that would eventually stop them. The other example is from Canada. Canada has been screening FDI over 10 years. Their scope is much broader. They don't deal only with the national security aspects, but as you will see from the proportion that out of the 5,000 screened investments, only 50 were only blocked, or there were some conditions imposed on the transaction as well. The debate about the need to cooperate in the European Union on screening of the FDI coming to the Union started in 2016, and as Deputy Minister Tauberová mentioned, in 2019 the regulation for 5.2 was adopted, and it came into effect last year in October. And the second impetus for strengthening or establishing new screening regimes around the European Union was or is the COVID-19 pandemics. The communication from the European Council last year called upon the member states to protect their critical medical capacities, personal protective equipment, and the vaccine production capabilities, and it was very vocal in their support to help the member states who are not having their own systems to establish ones and to strengthen them. Some details on the regulation. As we mentioned before, it became effective on October 11th last year, and it's basically a framework for cooperation and exchange of information. And if necessary, the member states can and the Commission can raise concerns related to specific investments taking place in other member states. That means that all the member states are receiving notifications about the investments that are being screened in other states, and then they can issue comments or ask for more information about these investments. And we will start notifying other member states about the investments that we will be screening starting May 1st, 2021. There is one important thing or fact that needs to be mentioned, that the European Commission itself does not have any right to block or approve any investment. This right remains in the realm of the national authorities. It's on the member states to approve, conditionally approve, or to block the investment. The EU has no right to block any investment. It always is on the decision of the government or of the ministry of that respective member state. That said, there is a special case, so-called projects of the European interest, these large programs and projects funded from the European budget. For example, Horizon 2020, Galileo, Trans-European Energy Networks, Trans-European Transport Networks, PESCO, Copernicus, and GovSatcom. And if the European Commission acknowledges any risk in the FDI coming to the company based in the European Union that is taking part in any of these programs, it can issue a statement that the member state where the transaction is happening place must follow to the utmost account, and so that there is the only case when the Commission has a stronger say when it comes to FDI screenings in any member states. I have to say that the European framework for cooperation and information exchange is really valuable for us because it helps us to understand the European landscape of the FDI development. in the European Union, and is very good for building and strengthening our situational awareness when it comes to this aspect of FDI screening. So thank you very much, and with that, I will give word back to Director Šimák, who will guide you through the presentation on FDI screening in the Czech Republic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Petr, for this presentation. And now I move to the Czech law, which is maybe of the major interest here today. Here it goes. So the major goal of this law is as it means has been said already, is to prevent the risky investors and risky transactions which are capable to endanger security or public order of the Czech Republic to happen in the Czech Republic so these transactions would be even deterred by this law. That's the major goal of the law. It should not prohibit any transactions which are not linked to security issues. As had been said, the 1st May is the day when it's going to be launched, and this mechanism will be implemented by the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Regarding scope, these FDIs which are being covered by the law are defined as foreign direct investments which are conducted by a third country investor, which means that it can be even a European company if the ultimate owner is from the third country. The ultimate owner is what counts, and these investments are considered as the third country foreign investors. At the same time, such an investment has to have the security link, the link to national security, public order, and possibility to negatively affect it. Regarding the trigger or the definition of the investment, the major characteristics is the 10% threshold of voting rights. Or substantial control over the enterprise. The reason for setting such a threshold is that the Czech mechanism should not cover portfolio investments at all. This trigger has been fine-tuned based on experience in other countries and even on the internal debate, and this threshold shall be the major trigger. The Czech mechanism will have 2 pillars, which we call sector specific, the ex ante screening, and cross-sectoral, which is ex post screening. Now on process, before I move to the pillars in detail, on process, as I said, the Ministry of Industry and Trade is the central point, is the contact point for foreign investors, and there will be a governmental decree in the Czech language, which will be the starting point of the proceeding, of the screening proceeding, and it will be available on the website of our ministry. During the process, there will be consulted institutions, but it will be consulted by us, so not a problem for the foreign investor, which means it's quite in detail described in the law, which means that mandatorily we will consult Ministry of Defense, MFA, Ministry of Finance, Police, and Ministry of Interior and Police Intelligence Services, and on ad hoc basis. We will consult other relevant institutions. If there is no risk identified, our ministry issues a positive decision. If there is any conclusion of these consulted institutions that such a transaction can pose a risk, security risk to the Czech security or public order, in such a case, we, as a Ministry of Industry and Trade, we will start negotiations with the investor if we can reach any agreement on mitigating on measures which will mitigate substantially the risk. If no agreement is reached, if there is no possibility to reach such an agreement, then it would mean that the Ministry of Industry and Trade will not grant the investment, and this case will be referred to the Czech government, which makes the ultimate decision. That's I mean the reason why it's structured like that is that the security issues are decisions which are of political nature, and it should be done on the top political level, as even recommended by OECD. Now on the two pillars, the first sector specific, let's call it ex ante pillar. This pillar will cover only sectorally specific investments in four sectors, which are described here on the presentation, which means arms industry, critical infrastructure, critical information infrastructure, and selected the most sensitive dual-use manufacturing. This is a closed list, which all these sectors are described precisely in special laws, and if the foreign investor intends to invest in such a sector, such an investor has to ask for permission, and will be screened before the FDI is conducted. The second pillar, this cross-sectoral, let's say, ex post pillar, is not mandatory screening procedure, but possible ex officio. It enables the Ministry of Industry and Trade to start the screening procedure up to 5 years after the investment has been completed. And it covers all sectors, so that's why we call it cross-sectoral. But still there has to be a link to security, which means that it will focus mostly on manufacturing of services not included in the ex ante pillar, but having a link to security issues. The best example can be the emerging and foundational technologies, which can have security overlaps. Here are some examples of security relevant sectors, which are coming mostly from the European regulation, but still it's even fine-tuned for the Czech national system. I will not read them. You can see it. You can see it here, and it's just examples which sectors can be of our interest when we assess if there is a risk in concrete transaction. Here are some more examples, which brings me to the special case of media, which are mentioned here, and maybe in the next slide as well. Yes, which means that media are not mandatorily screened, but investment which leads to the major media houses or the TV or radio broadcasters has to be notified, which means that there is a mandatory consultation. And if the investor intends to invest in such a media house or TV or radio broadcaster, then such an investor has to consult the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and on the basis of this consultation, the ministry will decide if such an investment will be screened or not. This Institute of Consultations, or call it fast track, is open to all other investments because we want to keep the legal certainty for the foreign investors, and if the investor is not sure if the transaction he intends to conclude is of security risk, or even if there is some security overlap, then the investor can voluntarily consult Ministry of Industry and Trade, and in 45 days deadline we will make the decision if this transaction will be screened, will come under the screening procedure or not. This brings me to the maximal statutory time period. So I did touch it upon before. Consultation, the fast track is 45 days. After that, if the Ministry of Industry and Trade comes to a decision that the transaction shall be screened, then the screening procedure starts, and this would take for 90 days if the investment is assessed as not risky. If there is some possible risk in the transaction, then it can take up to 135 days, because there is 45 days extra for the governmental decision. In extremely complex cases, there can be even extension for extra 30 days, but we don't think it will be used often. Regarding further information, the Ministry of Industry and Trade will have or has already a special part of its website which is dedicated to the investment screening mechanism, and we will have shortly the unofficial translation, the unofficial translation of the Act for your disposal, or if you ask us, we can share it with you. And inquiries, that's the maybe most important point here. You can reach us through the email address FDI Screening at npo.cz, where we can consult with you any informal questions or inquiries. We do plan a Q&A section in this on our website, which now we are kind of collecting the most frequent questions and trying to have a list of these most frequently asked questions for your disposal.